Hi everyone. As a part of our Liquibase tutorial series, in last few lecture we learned about changelog attribute that is run always and run on change. Now in this lecture we will learn about new attribute that is context. Okay, so without wasting time, let's start. First, I'll go in documentation page of Liquibase. So you can go inside changelog. In the concept, you can go in changelog, and in changelog you can go under attribute, right? And in attribute you can see all the attributes are there, right? So in last lecture we saw run on change and run always, right? Now in this lecture we'll learn about context. Okay. So what are the context? Context are tags that control whether commands like update run certain chain sets. Okay, so context are like tags to the chain sets, right? So we create chain set, right? So we can give tags to the chain set, and that is called context, right? You add context directly to the chain set in your changelog and filter them at runtime, right? So we add tags, we add this context directly in while defining the chain set, right? And while running the Liquibase, we are giving the context, right? Like this is our Liquibase command, right? So this is our Liquibase command, right? So in the Liquibase command, we are giving the context also, right? So here we can pass the context. Whatever context we have declared for a particular chain set, we can pass it here, right? Al- and the context filter is a logical expression that you can use to specify one or more change set context, right? So you can define context, you can define multiple context, and you can give in one or more change set, right? And these are case insensitive, right? You can specify a context name as any case insensitive string, right? So these are the example. Let's see the example. So how we define chain set. So go in XML, right? So you can see this is the context, right? So context name is test, right? So we defined a context. So while defining chain set only, we give the context, and while running the Liquibase command, we can give this context like test, right? Then only this chain set will run, right? If we are not giving any context, right, in our change set, then it will run for all the context. Any context we pass, it will run for all the context, right? And but if we are giving any context to a particular change set, then we need to give while running the Liquibase, we need to give that context, then only that particular change set will run, right? So this context is like a filter, right? So if I define it as a test context, so if I am not giving context test while running, right? So that change set will be filtered out and that will not run, right? And okay, so what are the use cases for this context, right? So use cases, there are some uses are given. Okay, so suppose you have multiple environment, right? You have local environment, then dev, then integration or perf environment, and then prod, right? So you can define some chain set as local, right? Or dev or test, right? So it will run only in your dev or test environment, right? While running the Liquibase command on dev, you provide context as dev. So all the chain set which are marked as dev, that will run, and all the chain set which have not been given any context, those will also run. Okay. So this is the way we can filter out change sets, right? We'll see the example, we'll see the live demo, okay? But this is the way we can define context, okay? We can also play around with context, like we can also give context not equals to test, right? So if we give context not equals to test, then it will run for all the context except test, right? So that is the meaning of context not equals to test, right? So if I am giving here context not equals to test, it will run for all context except test, right? You can also perform or operation like context equals to b 1.0 or map, right? So there are two contexts. So if we give any context b 1.0 or map while running the Liquibase command, so that change set will run, right? We can also give context like this, not QA and not main, right? So the changeset will run for all the context except not QA, except QA and main, right? So this is the way we can play around with context, right? Now let's see the live example. Okay, so see the live example. Let's go in our Liquibase folder. So this is our Liquibase folder, right? Postgres Liquibase, src main, Java, operations, changelog, right? Release 1.0. So in last lecture we had released some functions, right? Now to show the demo you guys the context, I'm adding a new file called app changelog procedure release 1.0 1.0 master. Okay, so I'm going to define a procedure in this file, and I'm going to show you how we are defining context. Okay, so this is my change set, right? And this is a procedure change set, so I have kept in a separate file app changelog procedure. Okay, so this is a procedure. Procedure name is employee update procedure. Okay, so we are creating this procedure in app schema, right? And this is the ID, and I'm context. I'm giving it as dev, right? So dev environment. So this is my procedure. I'm taking in the create procedure tag, and I'm using C data, right? C data tag, and here I have defined my body of procedure, right? So that's how my procedure change set is ready, right? Once that procedure change set I have added, so I have also added the call of that this file into this master changelog, master release changelog, right? So I've added this call of procedure release 1.0 1.0 master dot xml, right? The call of that file in our master changelog xml, right? And ultimately this master is getting called in outer master changelog dot xml, right? So that's where these are linked, right? So we are releasing in 1.0 1.0 and our file is procedure, right? So this is the chain set we are going to deploy, right? So we are deploying in app, we are deploying in employee database, right? So right now we have four database. So in employee database we are deploying and we are creating in app schema the procedure. Let's check if we have any procedure right now. We don't have any procedure, right? Let's also check the change log. So let me query the change log table. Select star from database change log, database change log, right? So let's query this table and let's see what are the data inside this log. Okay, so we have 17 rows, right? So in last lecture we had created functions, these two functions, right? These two are the change set for function, and these are marked as run always. That's why it is execution type is showing as rerun, right? Okay, so now let's open our PowerShell. Okay, so in the Windows PowerShell, let me just maximize it little bit. Okay, so that you guys can see. Now let's see our where is our run Liquibase command. So this is our Liquibase command, right? So before running that, let's cd into that path of changelog, right? So this is my path for changelog. Enter, right? So now I'm in changelog path. Now I'll run the Liquibase command, right? So this is my Liquibase command. Let's copy and let's paste here. Okay. So you can see this is my Liquibase command. My changelog file is master changelog XML, username postgres, password local. In URL I'm giving JDBC URL so of employee database. Then driver is there, right? The path of driver is there, and context is defined, right? Log level info update. Now you can see I'm giving the context as dev, local, and new, right? And my change log also my procedure change log for where I have defined context, that is also having dev, right? That means this change set will get executed, right? But let's first check that if we don't give dev as context, right? Then what happens if that change set get executed or not, right? So we are giving local and new, but we are not giving dev. And let's just do enter. Okay, so Liquibase has started to run. So you can see run is 2, right? So these two runs are of these two functions in the last lecture, right? So we have marked as run always true, right? So let me show you. So these two functions in this function file, and I have marked run always as true. That's why these are running every time whenever we are running Liquibase. So these are running, right? So these two runs, right? And here also you can see that this function name, right? So first one is create department wise employee function, right? And there is one more, this one, create employee detail dynamic variable function, right? So these two functions are marked as run always. That's why you see run as 2. But one thing to notice is that you can see filtered out equals to 1. What change set is this one? This change set is the change set of the procedure which has context as dev, right? So since we are not giving, while running Liquibase, we are not giving context as dev, this change set is getting filtered out, and that is showing as filtered out equals to 1, right? So you can see also you can see context mismatch 1, right? Filter change set summary. In summary, you can see context mismatch equals to 1, right? Here also you can see filtered out 1, right? Filtered change set summary context mismatch 1, right? That means Liquibase has skipped that change set because while running Liquibase, we are not giving context as dev, and we have marked this change set as context equals to dev, right? Now to run this change set, we have to give the Liquibase command as dev, right? Liquibase context as dev. So let me just again copy this command, Liquibase command, and let's execute once again. Okay, I think it is not been copied. Let me copy it properly. So Control C, and let's paste here, right? So now in this time we are giving context as dev, local and new, right? And let's do enter. Let's see what happens. In this time we have given dev, right? So you can see filtered out equals to 0, right? That context which was filtered earlier is now not filtered, right? Now it is showing filtered count is 0, right? And run, you can see 3 run, right? So two function which is of run always, and the one procedure, right? You can also see here. So let's see. So one is this function which is run always, right? Second is this function department wise employee function which is run always, and third is our this procedure which we just now created and given context as dev, right? So we have given context as dev, right? So this procedure. So this procedure got created. Let's go and check in our change log, right? So let's go and check our change log. So in the change log also you can see this procedure got created in row number 18, right? And its execution type is executed, right? So our procedure got created, right? And in context also you can see dev is written, right? So context is getting printed as dev, right? So our procedure got created. Let's refresh, check in our object explorer. So let me refresh the app schema, right? So we have created this procedure and app schema. So this is the procedure, right? Procedure got created, right? So you can see. So this procedure is a simple procedure, right? So I am giving a employee ID and I am giving the new role of that employee ID, right? So I'm just updating in employee view or employee table, right? And I'm setting the new role which I'm providing for that particular employee ID, right? And then I'm doing commit, right? So just a simple update of the employee role, right? So we can also try this. We can also try this executing this procedure. Okay, so let me just copy this one and let me just paste it here, right? So let's check the employee view. So in employee view we can see we have employee data, employee ID and employee role, right? And for employee ID 4, right now the employee role is junior DBA, right? Now we have to make it as senior DBA. Okay, so I can give it as senior.dba, and our this procedure can update as senior DBA for employee ID 4. Let's hit enter, right? So I think it is returned successfully, right? Let's check the data. So you can see for employee ID, employee name Anurag, senior DBA is the role, right? So I hope you guys understood like how we define context in change set, right? I can also define this context as not equals to dev, right? So it will run for all the change set, but it will not run for dev, right? I can also give dev, comma, or dev or local, right, like this. So it will run for all both context, right? Dev or local, right? For both context it will run, right? So mostly this context are used to separate out some change set. Example is like if you want to create some test data on your local, right? So you will mark the test data change set as local, right? So it will just create your it will just execute this change set on your local environment, and it will not create test data in production environment, right? So you can mark it as local, right? And while running you can give context as all the context dev, local, prod, right? So whatever context which is marked as local, that will be executed only in local environment, right? When you will deploy the same change set in prod, so you will while running the Liquibase command, you will give context as prod, right? So you will give context as prod. So all the change set which are marked as local will not be run, right? So you can give while running on prod, you can give context as prod, right? So if this particular change set which is marked as local, right? So this change set will not run in prod, right? So that is the way to create create local data, test data in dev environment, or we can separate out change sets execution based on environment, dev, perf, prod, local, right? So I hope you guys like this video, right? You guys understood the concept of change sets, context, right? So if you guys like this lecture, please subscribe my channel. Thank you guys.